When the credits start rolling, but the movie keeps haunting you.
Before, after.
Then it's time to tune in to Dismembering Horror. We'll talk about what worked and also what didn't. We'll dissect every aspect. Maybe some of we shouldn't.
They turned out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Take it away, boys.
Hello, Tim.
Hello, Ryan. Oh my God.
And hello, everyone listening. And hello, everyone who may be watching for the first time ever. This is it. We are here if you're watching or listening, I suppose. This is Dismembering Horror Incarnate. It's where we hang out after we watch a movie to talk about it.
Yeah, the living, breathing space.
Yes, so a very special episode for those two reasons. We are here visually for the first time, and it's an episode 200 retrospective. How far we have come, Tim.
Farther than anyone could ever have imagined.
I guess I never really thought about it, but it's a lot of movies for sure. A lot of discussions we've had.
That's true.
And it's one of those fun ones, a very clickable one if this is your first episode with us, because it is a listicle, 2 listicles.
We're like BuzzFeed over here.
Yeah, we're counting down what we do. So this isn't, we're going to do our top 9 episodes just to be funny, or just to make it a little more suspenseful, I think. Top 9, not episodes, but films that we've watched, our favorite films, for episodes 101 through episode 199. So that math would be our top film every 11 films, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Perfect. Let's get into some numerology.
Yeah, well, in what sense?
We just did it.
Oh, okay. Great. The significance of your number 2 and my number 7 mean that...
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we're going to start going down it and see what overlap we have. Should be fun. So how did you rank these for you? Like watchability, how much they scared you, rewatchability, most impactful thematically, enjoyment-wise? Like what was going through your brain when you were trying to rank these?
Mostly for me was just my knee-jerk, like going through the list, the knee-jerk reaction I had when I saw the title. Like how, I guess, visceral the like memory of it was. And so like right away I saw the first one that I'll list here, and I was like, "Oh, yes, that movie was awesome." Right? So it's kind of based just on that initially. And I think I got maybe to like 6 of those and was like, okay, those are super solid. And then went back through the list and I was like, okay, you know, I was a buy on this one. Why was I a buy? Like, how much did it stand up like now that there's been time between then and now? And for the most part, well, we'll get to it, but like 7 and 8, I was like, yeah, those are great. Like I really like. Maybe I should go watch those again. And 9 and 10 was a slightly broader thing, but I'll explain later.
Okay. Well, it's interesting because I kind of figured, and we've talked about before, if we're kind of a lot of the show is we're on the hunt for great films we haven't seen. We kind of assume, you know, we'd have diminishing returns the more that we watch, because in theory we'll have seen more of the great films that already exist.
Yeah.
Not that new great ones don't come out, of course, but you know, generally. Right. That sounds like it applied a little more to you here, in that you had an initial core 6 that were definite and then kind of had to, finagle from there.
Yeah.
Not that those last ones are bad by any means or whatever, but for me, it was a more matter of narrowing it down. Like,
well, interesting.
I technically had like a top maybe like 15 that, it's stuff. I basically like came up with my short list. That was more like, let's see, kind of like 20 films, 15, 20 films, and then just wrote 1 through 9 and just kept playing with it and just, I don't know. And It's so frustrating. It kind of means nothing to me. What do
You might want to hold that in a different place than in front of your face on camera.
Oh, I was just trying to hide it from you, but right.
I'm not going to look at it.
It's like we're playing poker here from everyone, right?
Yeah. You can put it wherever you want, Ryan.
I think this is safe.
It's not.
Wait,
Look
what
at,
camera?
Look at you. It's in your face. Something like that.
Okay.
There you go. That'll work.
Whatever, it's fine. Okay.
Cool.
Number 9, Tim.
My number 9? Thirst.
Great. So what are your memories that it left you with? Why your feelings? Why did it just make the cut?
Of the ones that I picked, I think all of them, for the most part, have design that like stands out. And Thirst, that's kind of the thing that I remember the most, like right off, just like my first reaction is like the design and the look of the film and like sort of the set pieces of the film are like stick in my brain. Like that moment when he goes into the apartment or flat or whatever and it's all white and then like it turns into sort of a bloodbath. Like that is amazing. Also just like the street shots. There's this whole, series of different shots around that building in the street and like him, flying up into the air and stuff. Like all of that. I think ultimately for this one, the best things were the unnatural, like the depiction of the unnatural and like how kind of like eerie it gets you.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you go, oh my God, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
But and also just like in general, like a newish, different take on a vampire film, right? Like was exciting to me. So yeah.
Got it. Great.
What's your number 9?
To pronounce it how they do in the film itself, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, right.
I rewatched it last night, actually, just to
nice.
kind of be like, did I really love this?
Yeah.
Do you remember? I mean, yeah, the things that just loved about it. It was how it was shot. I remember both of us were floored of like the point of view stuff, the rapid camera movement.
Yeah.
So much stuff that was playing with the idea of doubles
just the
or
effects. Like,
oh yeah,
dude.
that one the initial transformation effect that they did with lighting somehow that revealed the makeup underneath. But the dude, Frederick March's, his performance is it's just the best to watch. And I just really, really love the themes and the ideas behind it of we have two sides, the complete animalistic, go with our gut instinct side, and then the thinking or overthinking, how am I supposed to appear to get along with everyone? And that's just something that I hold near and dear, those ideas. And I will be surprised if it's ever topped from this version here. I mean, they really get into it with their discussions, the ideas, the themes. It's like through and through for that story. Just so great. Raoul, I wanted to quiz you what the director's name was. I already forget. It was like,
no way
he had
I would
a great
remember.
name, like Raoul Musaman or something. I forgot. It's a great name. Anyway. Okay, that's my number 9. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That was in my buys. Like I rated it a buy, and I didn't include it here.
Okay.
I think more so because like when I looked at what I said I would buy, a lot of it was less about how much I actually like loved the movie and more about how like important the movie is to like have as a reference to like how to make movies really well. I'm probably not going to revisit it out of sheer like desire because I'm like, oh, what do I want to watch right now? But I would want to own it because I'm like, oh, I'm making this movie and I want to look back at how they did these things and why they were effective there. Like that's to me the the benefit of rewatching that movie in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, damn, they were doing crazy stuff and it was amazingly inventive.
Mm-hmm.
How can I, in a modern way, integrate that style of filmmaking? Like, that's exciting to me.
And just watching him swing from different chandeliers or whatever,
Yeah,
all around
exactly.
on pipes. So good.
Pre like insurance, you know what I mean? Like they're just like, just go do it.
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't really say earlier either, but as far as how I was ranking them, favorite / just best in a way. I was trying to strike a balance because like best in for whatever I view that may not mean it's necessarily one I want to watch a lot or is a personal favorite.
Sure.
So I like try to ride that middle line.
That's fair.
That's where I was coming from. All right. How about your numero ocho?
I am gonna put. So this is this falls under a slightly, I guess, caveat realm in that it's the franchise itself more than just one single movie. So this was in my sort of like I came to this decision after picking my first 8 that or top 8 the Halloween, because we did Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends within this 100.
Yeah.
And we had previously done the one before that, and like I owned the original. And so to me, I couldn't just say, oh, I think Halloween Kills deserves to be on my list, but not Halloween Ends or vice versa. So if I'm kind of fudging it and saying, really, it's just the whole series of this. What did we call this?
People are calling it the DGG films. Like,
oh,
or
because
universe.
Yeah, David Gordon Green.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that universe I'm putting in as my number 8.
Okay. Fair enough. The universe.
Yeah.
My list may have looked different had we been. I know, and that was allowed.
Hey, everything's allowed. We're making it up.
Very true. No, those were both very high contenders for me too. And I think I think Ends was really good. I mean, we were
Me too.
seemed like the exception out of it. But
Yeah.
when I was kind of going between the two for this, and if I was going to pick one, I was thinking for now Kills was just edging out because it was like just an ultimate like modern slasher film for me.
Yeah. Wait, so did you have...
I'm mentioning it because I didn't have.
You didn't.
If I
Okay,
don't have
okay.
it, I may chime in with my 2 cents.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just... I in a way, what I guess I'm ultimately saying is I don't really feel like one stands alone without the others, but as a group, like as one giant film, if you want to look at it that way,
Mm-hmm.
like super, super solid.
So if
And I will rewatch this like for my enjoyment, and I have already a bunch of times.
So since there are a lot of naysayers out there of those two specifically, like what's this kind of if you were to tell someone, hey, try to go into it with these eyes, what would you tell them?
I mean, God, I don't know. Like, it's hard to articulate why. Well, I don't know exactly why people had such beef with it. My biggest assumption, I guess, would be that it seemed like everything I was hearing was people being like, oh, they're not doing the thing that I thought they were going to do. And it's like, okay, so your expectations were, somewhere else. That's never going to work going into anything, right? Like, so like lose the expectation of it and like just take it for what it is. I mean, I would almost say, look at it in the same way that maybe you can look at the way that comic book movies say, like, actually, this just exists in its own universe. It's this thing, right? So just take that for what it's worth. It's in the, it's in the DGG universe. It's that take on Halloween. Don't try to like ask it to be a John Carpenter Halloween movie.
But to accentuate the positive, what did you like about them?
I think the look of it, this bridging between a really, really well shot modern, gritty, like crisp image. Although that's sort of a contradiction, but you can see the dirt in the film because of how crisp it's filmed. And that's a modern thing, right? Like, not entirely, but it by and large is sort of more of a modern thing. It's like it's in 4K, man. It looks amazing. So like having that coupled with this aesthetic style that still feels like it's homaging the 70s or 80s, late 70s. Like it's accomplished this thing of marrying those two things together for me, that I'm feeling both nostalgic and like, oh, this is something new. And I think that's a pretty amazing feat. So like every time it turns, each one of them starts and we get a different version of the pumpkin, I'm like, oh, I'm back in. But it's new.
Yep.
So like, what more could you ask for? Like, dude, come on.
For a requel to successfully somehow bridge the two universes and tones and all that jazz.
Yeah.
I'll just add thematically, or just looking at it as a story about our relationship with evil,
Right.
versus a kind of Michael Myers fanfic movie or whatever. Like that,
Yeah.
that plugs me right into it. When you're looking at it in those terms of look for the arc there,
Right. I totally agree.
Cool.
All right. What'd you got?
So this spot, I was going between what I chose here and angst. I felt like I needed one that was just what sent me to hell and kept me there. So with that in mind, I gotta say Threads. Definitely not one for rewatchability.
No.
but definitely one I think I want to share with people who haven't seen it. So I would like to watch it.
That's so mean.
In that content. Well, people who are into film and know what they're getting into. I mean, like what we're doing here, you're like, I just want to see the worst. I just want to feel gross. I want to be sickened. I want to be horrified. Well, I got a movie for you.
Yeah, you do.
So Threads.
Brutal.
Yeah, I feel like I just couldn't not tip my hat to it for this list here, and that felt like a good place to put it, just to sort of emphasize its impact and the importance of what films like that can do. And I think it's prescient as well.
Yeah.
God, but I mean, just a movie that can put me through a ringer like that. I mean, talk about Threads, which we did for a pretty recent episode. So,
yeah. Again, I sort of this fell in like I came around in the episode to saying, because initially I was like, I don't ever want to see this again, so it's effectively an avoid for me, right? But then it's not, because of what it as a film is doing, and how as a filmmaker you probably should own that in a similar but different way, as I said with Dr. Jekyll. And so, yeah, like I don't want to watch that movie ever again. I probably will like once more as like a research project to be like, damn, I need to accomplish the ultimate despair, dread, like just worst feeling ever in this moment in my film. How did they do that? Let me go watch Threads to figure it out.
Yeah. And while you're there, maybe revisit Angst too, which special shout out that guy's lead performance. So compelling, and the unique way it's shot from above. Anyway. Angst did not make the cut.
Well,
but special shout out.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're on to number 7.
Okay, number 7 is another franchise. And then I'm done with franchises. But I thought, okay, we did every Scream movie in this 100 episodes. And like, I thought, okay, well, what's my favorite one? And I have a hard time making that distinction because they're all, again, kind of one big project.
But you would have some of the sequels be that close to the original for you?
I mean, the weak one for me is 3. Every other one, I'm like, I feel like they're just a touch around each other. I think 1 is the best one. But every other one is like, 2, 4, and 5. I would be very happy to put any of those on at any time and like totally get into it and on the ride. Like 1 is special, obviously, and 3 is weak, I guess. But like, then I think if I'm gonna watch any of them, I'm probably just gonna watch all of them in a row anyway.
Yeah.
So like, what am I even talking about? Like, they kind of can't be separated from each other in my mind, at least for my enjoyment. So they just kind of have to be a big clump. What more can you say? Like, it's the Scream franchise. Like, I don't know.
They're great.
They're amazing.
All right. That was number 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about you, Ryan?
Circling back to Thirst.
Oh! Fair.
I love that film. Some things that you didn't mention. I agree with everything you said. There's a lot of like the connotation between vampires and sexiness, which
Oh, that's right. I forgot how sex driven and sexy the movie is. That's right.
This is the one vampire film that really does that for me. I mean, yeah, kind of the Bram Stoker's Dracula. I mean, it's
in there.
Sex is definitely in all those, like even down to the 30s ones. But as far as just like sexy, I think when I watch it,
right.
I don't feel that when I watch Twilight necessarily.
What?
Sorry.
That is shocking to me.
Intense Korean things, always great too.
Yeah.
Both of the leads, just sexiness aside, the kind of romance it was, White Rooms aside, the coloring of the kind of the green and the blues and the walls and all that. And just remember having a really good discussion about it. And it's one of those films too where it's of an epic scale and actually feels like it deserves it. So Park Chan-wook, I mean, he's one of the greats, and this is like right up there with all his best stuff for me.
Yeah.
Thirst.
It's interesting what you're saying about sort of like the world. I love how it's world building and expansive in that sort of way of this is a new way to tell this, like not a new story necessarily, but like it feels so well contained at the same time to the characters. And I think that's, man, when you can make the characters so contained and focused, but also build an elaborate and like big world around them.
Right.
That is like you're hitting right in the sweet spot.
What kind of captures that is that it feels like an intimate romance that involves jumping with vampire powers from rooftop to rooftop.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
All right. Getting down there. Number 6.
Number 6, Vampire.
Great.
I guess we're on a bit of a trend here. So Vampire was the first one when I started looking at the list that, I'm, scanning from episode 101 or whatever. And I don't remember what it is. It's pretty early on, I think. And like, all I think about, again, this one is the one that I think bridges this notion of like, you should own this for the filmmaking sense of it, because it's so well shot and inventive, but also like the story itself. Like I'm compelled so much by the acting in it. Remember we talked about how the actor doesn't feel like an actor?
Because he's not. It's because he was the financer. Yeah.
Exactly, right? Like, and how impactful that is.
Yeah.
Capturing that and being able to marry that to these just incredible visuals, like I want to go watch Vampire a bunch. I'm like, the fact that I don't already own a copy of it is frustrating.
Yeah.
And so, I think my initial reaction was so strong to be like, oh, I've screwed up by not having this already and already having rewatched it a number of times because of how impactful it was when we watched it.
Yeah.
So
that was the one that hurt the most to cut from my list.
Oh, really?
I mean, honestly, too. I mean, I get where you're coming from. Where I wasn't looking at this as ranking them. I didn't want to do that, but Vampire, I don't know. It might as well be in there. I think it was right about where you just had it for me for the most part, until I just kind of threw the darts at the wall because I had to.
Yeah.
The what I'm left with from it, whatever that you didn't mention was the dreaminess, the nightmare aspect to it.
Amazing.
Which, of course, modern films can do, but is just so special when you have a film from that era. Because when we're watching something from it, was it like 1930 or something like that? It was made like early 30s, late 20s. It feels to us like we're watching something essentially could be 1830, because
right.
people were still around, around. We're connected to that era that much more. Mm-hmm. So just to know that you could tap into some kind of dream nightmare in between space. I don't know. It both like connects you to that time and those people, in a way where like things don't actually change, but things do clearly change. I don't know. It's just the spell it cast over you is one of those films. I love it so much. It made a really big impact on my on some films I've been working on. Yeah, it's great. And yeah, the guy's gaze, I think, is why his acting works.
It's so weird to me because when I think about it, it's so different than other movies of that era. And like the only thing I can call it is that there are the majority of movies from that era that I've seen feel old. They feel antiquated, or they just feel like, I don't know how to describe it. Cranked. They feel cranked. Like they feel like they're made on an old machine.
Mm-hmm.
And what that ends up doing most of the time is the image that we're watching feels manufactured in a way like that is not real. Like it what I'm getting at is that Vampire feels like I'm watching actual real life, which is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like almost documentary style. I guess that's kind of what it possesses that is strange. Like you're like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah. It feels like some filmmakers at the time were just kind of plopped down in this village and happened to observe this dude's body walking out of his body.
Yeah. It's very cool. Anyway, what about you?
X.
Okay.
Number 6.
All right.
And spoilers, I kind of wanted to pick X or Pearl. So Pearl is not further down my list. I think Pearl may have the slight edge for me for being a better film.
This is to me a really interesting paradox almost.
Right.
Because they're different.
They're different. They're very different. I feel like they're both films where the more I watch them, the more I'm going to love each of them. So X is the one that I've happened to see twice. That may be all it is. But for what it is, the flavor of it, I don't know. It's kind of like the Beatles or Elvis thing, It's like you can love both.
Yeah, you're allowed to.
Right, but
you don't have to pick.
I feel like I just maybe, which one are you a guy more of, Elvis or Beatles guy? And that was, I feel like X, I might just be more of an X guy when it comes down to it.
Do you think that is influenced partially by your like affinity for the era?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. I mean, both have Mia Goth, so it can't be. Well, you got two Mia Goths in Pearl, so yet that didn't do. I think
no. In X you have two,
sorry,
right?
yes. So you do have two Mia Goths in X, so maybe it's that. The whole cast, exactly, like the 70s. The moments actually just worked so well. It feels like it's a new movie with actual classic moments, whether it's the suspense of the crocodile, whether it's old Pearl watching them shooting the porn,
Right.
the playing Landslide on the guitar, and that having it be, it's like maybe it's totally cheesy, but it's totally touching and sentimental too, just
Yeah.
as the song would be. And just the horror set pieces too of the blood going on the headlights. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that. And it's the exact amount of pacing for what I want for a slasher film like that. It's just, it just absolutely hits the sweet spot for me. Love, yeah. And yeah, I think the 70s-ness is maybe why it actually makes my list and why I'd put it above Pearl for me right now, even though I think Pearl might be the better film.
Yeah. I reserve comment on until I see Maxine in a way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But as far as rewatchability too, that helped get it on my list and put it where it is.
Yeah, and I think I've watched X now twice. Yeah, and Pearl once. So
cool.
I'm happy to watch Pearl again.
Oh yeah, I'm just so excited for the box set already.
Yeah,
and Maxine is apparently Mia Goth's favorite script of the three. So whatever that means.
Unhinged.
Don't want to get too excited.
Yeah,
yeah. Great. All right. How about number 5 for you?
Number 5 is going to have to be Candyman, which I have not revisited, but like it's available and I keep being like, oh, I want to watch that right now. Similar to like how I was describing the Halloween films, the crisp modern clarity that's in it. It's hard because like I love a good grindhousey feeling movie, but like how clean and beautiful the filming of it is with the content that it's showing being so gruesome and so disturbing. Like I just think that there's something about that like thrills me currently. And like my list is a lot of more modern movies. And then you couple that with the social sort of commentary that it just inherently has. Like I want to be making movies that are in that vein, right? Like I think that's why I like horror almost singularly, that you can make a movie that is about an underlying issue and wrap it up in this whatever terrifying, fantastical, like whatever alien thing, and that even that by itself can just be fun. But it's like if you want to look further into it, you can, and there's more layers to be peeled back. I love that about horror in general. So when they're kind of, firing on all cylinders with this type of storytelling, I mean, it's why I like Jordan Peele's stuff. It's the same stuff where it's like, I feel like there's a term that people are throwing around, but whatever. So social horror or something like that.
I hate all that stuff.
I know, but that's what
they are helpful terms at the same time.
But like that's what people are calling it. So like if you want to call it that, fine, I don't care. But like that realm of the modern movies, like that's why I'm excited about modern. The modern movies that I'm excited about largely because of those things. you know, and you start listing off like the ones that I love, like they all have it. So, you know, there you go.
Yeah.
And I forget the director's name, DaCosta.
Nia DaCosta, I
Yeah.
believe.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's just so good. So what more
Great.
can you say? Performance, like blah blah blah.
Yes, New Candyman made the short list for me. Did not make the cut. In addition to everything you said, I agree with. It successfully, which is so rare, I feel like for modern horror, it's hard to do, or it's just maybe it's just something I seek or really appreciate. That's why I like the J horror stuff so much. It's when it feels like you're looking at something supernatural. Like just when it's the flashback scene and the Candyman steps out and it feels like you're like, it's just a guy. But wait, something's wrong. Could this be a ghost? Wait, what is a ghost? Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Maybe it's both. Wait, is that possible? Wait, what? There's this. It just, you know, that
Yeah.
was it the Innocence was a good example too,
Sure.
where I said that shot of the ghost standing over the lake, where it's just like, it felt like they just set up a camera and actually captured a ghost. And like,
right.
the chills are being sent into me accordingly. So that to have the film like actually do that, but then couple it with the fun of the intense slasher kills, it's great. And I keep wanting to revisit it too because of all that, but I just haven't yet.
I actually, you know, I think part of why I haven't gone back immediately is because like some of the gore is tough. Like it's really intense. And I'm like, am I in the mood for that right now? Maybe not. So, but I will be at some point soon, I'm sure.
All right. Getting down to it. My number 5, Tim's favorite Halloween film.
Oh.
Not the one you mentioned, though. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Of course. This is the difference between you and I. Encapsulated.
I love Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and you do not love it.
Correct.
Yeah. God, I don't get, I thought this one would have been really up your alley, to be honest, with it's just like the score combined with those orange dark shots of when they're going the B-roll in essence of trick-or-treaters.
Yeah.
The sinister, dark, evil plot at play. The sort of 80s kitsch what the fuck fun of the robots and like the way that they kill people and like how they look when they get killed. Yeah. That it's like a larger conspiracy or plot that's utilizing, is it like what do you call it when it's like old Irish magic, all that. The druids, you know, all that stuff.
Some Celtic weirdness.
The lead, I mean, he's a Mr. Mustache. It's so great, so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. It's all great. It's so good. It's like the perfect Halloween watch too.
You mean the perfect thing to watch on Halloween?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
I get it.
That the jingle just makes you go crazy. The ending moment when you don't know if he's successful in getting the last channel turned off. It's so dark. Yeah, I don't know. It's all that. It's great, man. It's so good.
That's cool. I'm not going to argue with your opinion.
You don't have to. Yeah.
I refuse to.
Great. I'm not waiting for you to.
Oh, man.
But if you have nothing to say on that,
I don't. I just didn't like it.
Then we can get to number 4 for you.
Okay, number 4 for me is Fresh. Fresh. So fresh. Again, the sort of underlying thematic like commentary of Fresh is exciting to me. But like in a way the trope of the like kidnap victim thing, I don't know. I think it's a style thing more than anything.
Just when it's the shot of the two of them dancing, it's just great, right?
I mean, yeah, like it feels so good. And it's such a gnarly story. So it's like, I don't know, there's something really fun and like pleasing about that to me. I like their performances a lot too. Like they you know what it is? There's like an irreverence to the film all around. Like I imagine, I don't know, that the filmmakers and everybody on set and the actors were like just having a good time. That may be totally not true. Who knows? But the result makes you feel that way. And it does that thing in horror that I think you want in the fun of horror of like you are going, oh God, no. Like, oh, is this really going to happen? And yeah, it's irreverent. It's just fun and exciting.
Yeah. It's one I definitely want to watch again. I mean, in life for sure. Yeah, they're both so good in it. Something about, I think that the ending just didn't stick the landing for me. That was, I remember sort of what our what did not work discussion was around. But they're both, just so much fun to watch. We're great together. Solid choice. Good modern horror film. I remember a lot of posters up for it here around LA at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It just it's saying a lot with a very simple story.
And I
love that.
It was interesting how it sort of seemed to bridge that divide of a lot of people I know who don't necessarily seek out horror movies or watch horror movies. They were watching it.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a charisma thing. Like the movie itself has charisma.
Well, just those carried through by those two actors.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that makes sense that people can ride who aren't horror people per se can ride that and be like, oh yeah, I still really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
In spite of like, I don't really like horror.
Yeah.
Fresh. Whatever that means. Like, I don't like horror is a crazy thing to say to me too, because it's like such a wide spectrum of a thing that I'm like, well, yeah, are you saying you don't like slashers or like, you know what I mean? Like there's so much different versions of horror that to say you don't like horror is wild to me. Right.
And it's so weird. Usually that is what people mean is I don't like watching violence, which is completely different.
I could tell you 100 movies, right, that we've watched probably that are not violent.
Yeah.
But they're horror.
Yeah. They're missing out on Vampire, man.
Seriously.
No, and it's funny. Or some people, or it's just they're very, very sensitive to getting scared and just don't like that. But so funny. Yeah. I love talking to people who say that because I'll start being like, well, what is your favorite horror movie you've seen? And they'll say like, The Shining or whatever. I'm like, Alien. And I'm like, then you tell you what, you do like horror.
You're on board. All right. What about you?
Well, number 4.
Yep.
Well, to mix it up from the new releases, I got another old one here. Want to take a guess? It's my last one that's sort of before. It's my last one that's before 1980.
Kuroneko.
No, good guess.
Damn it. I don't have another guess.
Whatever happened to Baby Jane?
Oh, yeah. I considered that. I felt like it lives in its own realm so much so that I didn't want to use a spot on it.
Okay.
I know that doesn't make sense necessarily, but I was like, it's such a given that I'm like, no. Of course that one is one of the greatest movies ever
made. And that's, kind of why my top ones here weren't that exciting to me because it was kind of like, of course in a way. But that one, I guess, especially since you didn't put it, because it's so obvious, one of us has to put it because it truly did feel like a classic I hadn't seen before for whatever reason.
Yeah, it is.
God, it's classic for more than just the two leads giving like their career best performances, not being an expert on their, I say that just kind of assuming what must be what feels like it, right?
Right.
But the ideas behind it just had me hooked. The sort of bizarreness of the opening shot where it was like a doll or a clown doll or something like that was shedding tears.
Right.
I mean, what a way to start a movie that's otherwise just set in our reality. I mean, the centerpiece scene where she hires the piano player to like perform for her, and she puts on her show with
It's
like the
so-
lights, like the stage
It's so
like
twisted.
in her living room. How they torture each other in just these like the worst ways possible, but are largely just psychological. And then an ending that actually just seems as strange yet perfect as the rest of the film on the beach there. And anything that's kind of LA set is fun too.
No, that's true.
I think it was incredible. New for me, new classic. I just hadn't seen
Yeah.
Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder, I was thinking about how many movies we've watched, right? And in our lives, not just doing this. And it's a lot.
You've like letterboxed everything you've seen that you've watched.
I've tried to. I actually came across a movie the other day that I had forgotten about and wasn't in my letterbox.
No,
And I was like, one more, baby.
The most obscure, weird, like 90s things I'm like that I somehow discover. It'll be like Tim watched.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, I want to quit.
I obsessive. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I looked at my list the other day, and I'm like 70 movies or so away from 5,000. And I thought to myself, okay, like that's a lot of movies to watch. But then I was like, but there are a ton of movies on that list that I've watched at least 3 times, which is wild to me. So like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, I've probably seen 4 or 5 times. So like it's one of those movies where, you can just keep watching it over and over again. And I think every time you see it, you're going to either pick up new stuff or just like it's going to, like its mystique grows as you watch it. It's so good. So
maybe that's kind of the difference you're explaining at the beginning. This was a first watch for me. For you, it was just more of already given classic.
yeah. Yeah, it's like if we had watched Jaws, it's like, well, yeah, of course. But like, I don't need to put Jaws on this list. Do I?
If
Like,
it's your
it's such-
favorite.
But it's such a given. I don't know. Like I want it. Like in a way, I think actually my list, except for the Scream franchise, were all first watches. So yeah, that I think plays a big role in it.
All right. Well, we're down to the top 3. So what is your number 3?
I think my number 3 is gonna be The Menu.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
you were into The Menu, huh?
Man, I think there's something so deeply connected in this movie to anyone who has worked in the service industry that like not that if you haven't, you can't kind of dip a toe in and get where it's coming from, but like it's kind of like it's one of those things that if you just have to have had that experience to really truly feel what the movie is doing, like on the most visceral level. For example, like I've worked for Gordon Ramsay on a show, but like I worked as one of the cooks. And so I was getting the full treatment like, the chef in this. So I've
chef.
I've had that exact experience where it's like this weird cult of just like almost militant, like hierarchy. And it's a really bizarre thing to experience. And then you see a movie that's like just on the exact frequency of that. Like it's thrilling and upsetting. Because you're like, it's like I'm having trauma just watching it because I'm like, no, I don't want to experience that again. Gordon was great. Don't get me wrong. I love Gordon. But like that feeling of being in the environment where you're so at the mercy of this particular way of looking at the world is really effective. So
my favorite aspect of it was the sort of warring between the chef and Anya Taylor-Joy.
Totally.
Did that for you somehow exemplify or draw out any of what you're talking about that's unique from having worked in the service industry for you?
Yes, absolutely. Because not everybody speaks up in those environments. And I didn't for a really long time until I think I got to a place where I was like, I've been doing this long enough to, and I opened bars and like helped sort of manage and like went through the operational side of the process. So had enough footing to feel like I could be like, dude, you're doing like, this is crazy. Like your ego as an owner is like making it worse for everybody. But like, I don't think most people in the service industry, and because of how it is actually set up, it's set up to not have a voice as the worker, and you're being exploited just inherently being exploited. And so like that relationship in the movie, even if you're not the person who's been able to speak up and like push back, everybody has wanted to be that person, I think, when you're in that position. And so to be able to see her and him spar in that way is not just exciting from like the narrative of the film, but it's exciting because it's like you're getting to live vicariously through that, where you're like, I never got to do that, but like, hell yeah, she's doing it, though, in a way that you would like. Everybody wants to have stuck it to their owner, like the worst owners. You want to be able to be like, not only tell them to their face that they're out of their minds, but also to be able to like knock them down back into reality. Because I think that's often the problem, is that you get people who like kind of, they drift away from reality as they get like whatever further along in their weird little insular like kingship of being an owner of a place,
right? Which is and this is the horror version of all that, the horror extreme of all that.
And her getting to like eat the cheeseburger at the end is like, fuck yeah, man, got him.
Yeah,
finally. Every service worker's dream is to like the moment you get to walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it a bunch of times, right? Like I've left places that I hated. And I know a lot of people, and I'm one of them, who has ceremoniously left. Meaning like I actually had a ceremony for myself to cut the tie. Like I burnt my work shirt when I left this one place way back in the day.
You get the relation to the film we're talking about, where you say you burned something.
That's what I mean, right? Like you need to, like, I needed, and I think a lot of people need some sort of ceremony to be like, this is over.
And Anya's was
I've moved on.
Watching the whole place go up in flames. Yeah.
Yeah. So it really spoke to me in a deep, deep way.
Only thing else, funny menu thing, since we've watched it, I'll mention a friend, letterbox friend, I guess. I saw her write, she like, I don't know if she actually gave it a bad review, but she was like, the dude, meaning not Ralph Fiennes, but like the boyfriend dude, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, the dude bugged me so much, I turned it off after 10 minutes or 5 minutes, something like that. And I was kind of like, was that kind of like the point? I kind of like...
Yeah. Yes.
I feel like she's missing out. I feel like if that's your
course.
issue with it, then you should stick with it.
Right. I mean, yeah, the whole purpose, like everything is really well constructed in that movie, and it all serves a very specific purpose. So to like, yeah, his whole character is made to make you hate him.
Yeah.
Like from every angle. So if you're not into like going on that ride and seeing him get his comeuppance,
right?
Then
I get it.
Why are you even watching movies?
It's right. It's fine if someone doesn't just want to watch someone that bugs them that much. But I mean,
totally.
Yeah. If he's that whatever annoying, fine. But
on the flip side, if something is deeply triggering, something inside of you, totally, like don't put yourself through that.
Yeah. I hope she sees it someday.
Yeah.
All right. My number 3. God, I guess it's kind of a given. Any guesses what it is? This another Korean film.
I Saw the Devil.
Hell yeah.
Well,
I Saw the Devil, Tim.
I'll just jump in because it's my number 2.
Okay.
So,
Great.
Let's discuss.
Right, your number 2 would be next. Yeah. I Saw the Devil. Well, how was it for your first time viewing? What struck you about it?
Bro. I was like from the opening image, like flabbergasted by it.
Great. I kept thinking of you when we had watched what was it? One of the remake of the Rape Revenge, Last House on the Left.
Oh yeah.
And how cathartic you were finding it for the attack back stuff.
Yeah.
Of just getting them.
Yep.
Hit them with the thing. Get 'em, da. This movie is just the best of those movies for me. When it's like towards the end, when he like rolls up in the car when he thinks he's made it to the prison, and like he's still getting him. Every time our hero dude shows up to foil our serial killer guy, it's just so much fun.
It really is one of the best movies like I've seen.
Right?
And I know it is definitely not for everybody,
No.
right? Like it is a particular thing. And it is brutal. Like truly, truly brutal. But like that's not what when I think about the movie, that's not what I think about at all. I think about like the color in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the just how beautifully shot it is.
Right. There's like the greenhouse set piece.
Dude,
that
the
they have
opening in the snow, like it's so beautiful. And like that is the most fun stuff in filmmaking to me, to have these sort of opposing things happening, like whether it's the visual opposes the content, or like the characters oppose like the like what you expect them to do. Like that, those sort of I don't know what you would call that, like diametric sort of components of filmmaking is so fun to me.
Yeah. Well, as far as diametrically opposed, kind of in the Jekyll and Hyde way too, maybe there's like, I am not for philosophically, morally, the idea of revenge, you know?
I'm not either.
But there's something, I can't deny, there's something deeply human satisfying about the thought of like pursuing that urge, right?
So yes. So I think that like I don't have the vengeance like gene, right? Like if somebody does something shitty to me, I tend to be like, that sucked.
Well, no, it's on the level of what I know you agreed with. We talked about was like when someone is at the stoplight on La Brea and drops their trash outside, that you want to pick it up and put it back in their window.
Yes, but I don't want to hurt them for it. And that's kind of what I mean.
No, I mean, where I was going with that, I wasn't talking about in terms of violence.
Sure.
Maybe a little bit in the sense of, you know, you do this to me, I do the equal thing to you. But more in the sense of like, as a thought exercise in the nonviolent way, which this film explores too. All right, what's the worst thing I can do to this person? And to have like, to the ending, it was just so incredible, where you have him, so he actually finds what could maybe be the one conceivable way to get at some kind of deep feelings of this serial killer you assume is completely psychopathic, sociopathic,
like
has no feelings for everyone. I don't know. So just seeing it as that thought exercise of like, how do I most get revenge on someone, just like pursued through and through. So good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's tapping into precisely that. Like, what could somebody do to make you need to go to that length for the sake of justice in your mind? And that's why the setup of like just the idea. So to me, like when I think about it, I don't generally have that. I'm not. It's not evocative of like I want to lash out and like get this person for anything.
You told me the other day,
but
someone near and dear being harmed to you,
exactly
would leap across the bar to attack them.
That is it. So like this movie is showing you what it would take for even the people who don't like have that naturally in them to have it come out. And I think that that's what makes it cathartic, is that you get to kind of live through that, a thing that you don't want to ever have to experience. And so like, and that is a bit, we've talked about this in terms of horror. Like horror is allowing us to kind of like go through these things that we either, deeply fear and would never want to go through, or deeply maybe desire, but would never go through with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so we get to have that vicarious experience through horror in a certain way that's safe, but thrilling, and this movie truly, truly lands in that realm where you're like going on that ride to feel the vengeance through the hero and like have it really, really get there in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like truly, like truly getting to see the worst guy get it the worst.
And our hero is kind of a superhero, where there's something fun to sort of live through him in that sense too. He's like so slick at what he does, very physically able, all that. There's, I think what puts the movie over the edge for me too is it's like would be a classic already if it wasn't for, or what makes it all that much better is the centerpiece cannibal house scene or sequence, set piece.
Yeah.
Like it found a way to push the movie further in a way that I would not have ever expected, but feels completely right.
It does. I think what that sequence really helps to frame for the movie is kind of what we said before. When you have the contained story, but you build a big world around it, it really enhances what's going on. And so to have this the vengeance story happening within a world where, just a reminder to everybody, this dude's not the only like horrible like dude on the planet, that he's just one of many horrible people that exist.
Mm-hmm.
And the second you see that that's the world we're living in, you're reminded of that reality and you're like, damn, this is bleak. Like, it's really a hard thing. And you go, well, shit, you can't get retribution on every single bad guy that exists, but we're going to get to see a few now.
There's something just so on point, just inherently with cannibalism, I guess, about the idea of it's the ultimate form of like dehumanizing someone, someone else, another person. So in those thematic terms, it feels like a natural extension or other way to look at the sort of the way this guy approaches serial killing.
Yeah. Yeah, that even it enhances how awful he is too. Mm-hmm. Because he's super complicit in that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, cool, man. Like, I'll provide you with some bodies to eat.
What a fun,
like, bro.
What a fun little family life they all have in that place. Isn't it bad
enough that you're a serial killer?
No.
Clearly not.
And that guy too, just that guy. I forget that actor's name, but
I don't remember. Man,
incredible,
so good,
perfectly cast.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my number 3 and your number 2, which
we're
means
back to you
on my number 2, which, let's see. Do I have it right here? Okay, it's on the bottom. I won't grab it. There it is. Scream, the OG Scream.
Okay, yeah.
I did not group it with the others because
Fair.
as much as I think I do when I watch one, I'm going to watch them all. And as much as I love, I think I even do have a soft spot for Scream 3 where
I know you do.
where something about it, it's the one DVD I owned and I like the Hollywoodness of it all.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Anyway, the original one, though, I think will forever be a step above and beyond the others. Just inherently, it's nothing. It's
yes.
not putting down. It's so exciting. I mean, 90s a while ago now, but as far as like our lifetimes, it's fun to know that there was something that came along then that is just such a tried and true classic. And to sort of illustrate why a way of putting why something is classic in a way that's just fun to me is when it feels like there's magic supporting it. You remember the example I gave in the original where the song's playing, the music is playing, and right on cue, I think when Dewey closes the door to his car, it syncs up with the beat in the music in a way that feels like the film just had serendipity on its side. It's just one of those like perfect when you're in the editing things and it just all comes together and it feels like the film gods are just going like that and ushering it all in. And how it truly refined what Wes Craven was starting to do with New Nightmare as far as the meta aspect. And just think about what it's almost like, not cliche, but just almost sort of, it's just used a lot now to speak in terms of meta and whatnot. And appropriately, we are at that point in our culture. I mean, look at what Ready Player One did, just in sort of like to put it all out there. Like, this is where we're at. What that does, whether it's Ready Player One or in a horror movie sense with Scream, is it like puts a flag down to then explore the next planet, you know?
Yeah.
It's yeah. So just the way it helped push forward, horror in that way and film in that way. And also I think we talked about how the 90s sort of the 2000 or 2000, I was going to say 2001 A Space Odyssey, 9/11 felt like a demarcation point of the bubble bursting on the illusion of the safety of America, the safety of the suburbs, the sort of isolation in the world and the sort of sense of safety that comes from that. And and to have a film that's so well done in every regard, also looking at it from that angle as a period piece, a piece in time, and then just being able to view it with that lens too. And our relationship with violence and violence in movies. It's truly incredible, I think, as a film.
I feel like, if I remember correctly, that we essentially said it's a perfect movie. And I think that's true. I mean, I think that's, not really a debatable thing.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like if somebody was like, oh, no way, you wouldn't even have to like back up your argument. You'd be like, yeah, but it is, man. So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It is amazing how good it is. Maybe it's not amazing. I don't know. Everybody was just crushing it.
Yeah, it was just meant
I like that. That's this notion that you've mentioned and we've talked about of just the magic and serendipity of that film that even the filmmakers talk about when they're interviewed, of like just things just working.
It's when things are especially meant to be. Yeah. It makes it just as easy to take it for granted in a way.
Right. Yeah. Can you guess what my number one is?
Yeah. Give me a hint. Is it another more modern one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It sounded like it wouldn't be Pearl or X based on when I mentioned this earlier.
No.
I don't know.
Infinity Pool.
All right. I was kind of hoping that would be up there for one of us.
I just think
that was after Vampire. That was my number 11, I guess.
Was it?
I really wanted to put it in my list.
I part of this is just pure taste, right? Like, I don't think everybody's going to love Infinity Pool by any stretch of the imagination. And I wouldn't even be like, oh, you got to see this necessarily. But I got to see it a lot.
A lot.
And I think part of it is, well, a lot of it is that it, obviously, I really like David Cronenberg, and I don't know. He's such a specific director that you just call things Cronenberg-esque.
Cronenbergian.
Right, exactly. And so to then have, and I think the way I described it in our episode about it is that, like, if David is about like the body horror, that Brandon is the, so if David is about the external body horror, Brandon is bridging the internal, like inside your brain.
We
body
talked about
horror.
this. He brings on an extra level of the metaphysical.
Yeah. And like, there's very, like, there's not enough good stuff that I could say about how Infinity Pool hits all of that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I just want to watch it over and over again.
I'm excited to watch it again, honestly.
I'm just waiting for it to be released on like a Blu-ray or something, because
It's out on digital now.
Yeah, but I don't want it. I don't want
Right,
it.
because it's expensive when it first comes out on digital.
Also, I've noticed how big a difference the image, especially in the dark,
Mm-hmm.
the blacks of a digital image, how different that is from a Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And like, I don't have a 4K TV or anything, but like at some point that would be nice to have, and then have these 4K Blu-rays, and just like this, and movies like this in particular, or Candyman, or, you know, the new Halloween movies, like being of such a high quality filmically, like I just want to I want to live inside the dome of that, the imagery of that in like the most precise, beautiful, crisp way.
In that strange made up world and country.
Seriously.
There was a moment where I was playing with this list and I just wanted to put Infinity Pool right up there too. And I think the only reason, or I don't know, but maybe it plays, maybe a reason for that is how recently I just saw it, and that I've only seen it once. But
Fair.
it's definitely grown on me, like kind of what we said then. Not that I didn't love it then. I loved it from the get-go. So like every day since then, I've been thinking about it. It's stuck with me. And I'm like, wow, that's really, really good film. And I'm talking about seeing if it's still playing in theaters. I want to go see it again, because it's I got a movie pass, a new movie pass I got to use.
Right?
Man, Infinity Pool. Yeah.
It's wild.
I just
go listen to our episode on it.
I just keep thinking of the stuff coming out of the nipple, and that
I'll never forget it.
Right? The whole hallucinatory scenes.
I came home from it, and I said to Britt, I was like, man, there's some weird nipple stuff going on in this. And she's just like, what are you talking about? And then I had to try to explain it. And she just sat there like staring at me like, I don't know, what is your deal?
I mean, that says it all right there. Not the nipple thing, but movies, good movies, visual medium, you shouldn't be able to explain what captures it.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I know. I'm like, well, you need to see it. So
yeah. And anything kind of, in its own weird way, like Vampire, that just puts you in a weird spell. Like it feels like you do those drugs with them when you're watching it. For a movie to actually capture that, put that on your list. I was trying to keep track of what are the 7 movies in all, or 200 movies that you said you wanted to smoke a joint to and watch. That was one of them.
I'd have to pull the list up. I could probably think of a few.
Right. Demon Wind.
God. Yeah, I mean, you need to be baked to watch that movie. Otherwise, it's unwatchable.
Okay.
All right, here we are.
Yeah, that was your number one. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. from the 1980s.
That's a lot of movies. God, I don't know. Give me one more hint.
There's 2 of them. There's one sequel. That was made in the 90s and is very different.
Damn it. I don't know.
You'll know it. You'll be mad when I say it.
Yeah.
You'll know it. It's obvious. Gremlins.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought about that too, and I thought it's too obvious, I guess, in my mind.
Well, I mean, if I had that in mind, I would not have put Gremlins and Scream and would have
I know.
in Infinity Pool and Vampire. So,
That's fair. That's fair.
But I could.
But somebody had to say it, I guess.
Sure, it's a way of approaching it, I guess. Sure, but no, there was no way that we were gonna have done Gremlins and it was not gonna be number 1.
Yeah.
When it's fun, I'll ask people like, "What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite song?" Or when you get asked that, for me, a big part of being able to answer that, or sort of how I might. What are all the things I'm looking at when I try to answer that? A big one is how long has this been important for me in my life? And something that you can never replace is, as much as I may have loved these newer films, like for me, I Saw the Devil, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, I discovered later in life, I can never have again movies that were near and dear to me in my childhood. This movie, I can't, we've got Gremlins. I just can't stress how much of an impact it had on me growing up.
I know. I've seen a couple of your movies.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with it. And it's just to have a movie too that instantly feels like a movie and puts me in a certain place when I start it. When the theme song comes on, it says Gremlins. You have the shot of Kingston Falls, the Warner Brothers backlot, and that not the Shirelles, whatever, that version of Christmas.
Yeah. Chantel's? I don't know.
Christmas. It's like who would have come up with this? You know? Right. Like we know who, but again, the movie gods are helping to conjure this perfect thing no one would have ever guessed we ever wanted or needed. And it feels validating in a sense that it was a huge box office success. It hit the zeitgeist somehow. People just dug it and liked it, and you couldn't really say why. I mean, you can say, "Oh, they're funny, but they're also scary, and it's dark." It is all those things, but it's just kind of an ultimate example too for me of something of like, to create new things, you take from other things. But then when you have all those other elements add up that are familiar to something that feels wholly original, like I can't think of a better example than Gremlins in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. The original Grogu, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Look at Mogwai's influence into Furbies and then the ripoff movies, Critters, all that. And then, yeah. My short film we shot here.
That's right.
The extension of our Dismembering Horse Studios just around the corner.
Yeah, it's
Gremlins, man.
It's cool. I think a lot of the movies we're talking about, well, I mean, it's hard to say this about any of the ones that came out in the last 5 to 10 years, but all of the ones that are before that, I think share this quality of how influential they were to film and to pop culture, but to film in particular. Like, I mean, Thirst, I don't know. When did Thirst come out, do you think? Like 2008 or something like that?
Oh, yeah. I remember seeing it in theaters. It was something like that. I forget, like 2009 maybe?
Yeah. Like, I think that Thirst is probably the most recent of these that has influenced people, like largely influenced.
I don't remember
things.
It being that huge, though, is the thing.
No, but I think from filmmakers and probably other filmmakers not in the U.S., I think it's one of the last ones that like you could probably track influence. But prior to that, like all these other ones, man, like Vampire, well, obviously in a way, Candyman is a good example of the influence that the original Candyman had, right? Like they're all, I mean, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you could probably draw a straight line through like 100 movies
Yeah.
of like, I mean, just the story itself has influenced so much, but like just the filmmaking too,
Right.
the filmmaking of Vampire, the filmmaking of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Like,
Well, we've
they're
talked about
so
this
influential.
too, with it, how they're influential, yet there's a chicken and the egg thing going on too. We're just sort of in the branching out of these creative sort of first things these films may be discovering. Someone may not have ever seen a film that you feel like has clearly influenced it. There's just something in our humanness, in our blood almost, in our interconnectivity that's just like, it's like what you always talked about too as creators, like, I was going to make that movie, you know?
Right.
It's whatever that is.
It exists. And, I mean, I think this is largely what people are experiencing when they talk about like the Mandela effect. It's not so much that they saw, or that it's I don't think at all that there was another version of reality, but the influences that certain things have, that like the tentacles of that or the branches of that spread out into the world. And like, you don't have to have seen Star Wars to know that Darth Vader says, "I'm your father," right? Like it's been sort of distributed in so many different ways.
But you are in the chair, Blanche. You are.
Exactly, right? And like you don't have to have seen that for that icon to have touched you somehow.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool, right? And like, when people are like, "Oh, he says, Luke, I'm your father," I'm like, actually, that's probably just because you saw Tommy Boy. And
Right.
in Tommy Boy, he says that, right? And sort of on some level that it's a reference to Star Wars. So then your brain says, Darth Vader actually said, "Luke, I'm your father," but really he said, "No, I'm your father," or whatever it is.
I'm going to get us back to Gremlins here. So
Please do.
Those moments, they're fun because they've struck a chord with the larger humanity of people at large. The moment with Darth Vader or whatever, those moments that play when you were playing Seen It, if you remember that game.
No.
It's a movie trivia game.
Oh, I do remember that. Holy shit, my God.
What those moments also do, the reason those moments become those moments has to do with that they strike you as an individual, though. They're good moments when they hit you on that personal level too. It just so happens that it hit a lot of people at a personal level because there's something really potent or exciting or just something special about it. So Gremlins, it's fun. It's one of those movies for me, since as the nostalgia factor, watch it tons growing up as a kid, that it feels like it's just every 15 seconds there's one of those moments for me, whether it's just like some of the Gremlins' lines saying water gun, it's just forever here. Gizmo saying at the end, saying goodbye. Just little looks and moments, the way it like, you hear the and to tie it too about, I kind of do and I don't want to bash on CG, but as far as like when constraints funneling through creativity and the way that helps just burst out something perfect and magical. Like there's the moment that's just one of those moments for me where like the one gremlin turns to the other gremlin in the bar, and it's like you hear the special effects guys referring to it as like, things were a little shoddy and da-da-da and weird, da-da-da. There are shots like that, and they'll use that as an example. But something about how it looks is just like forever in me. And I love like so much just the what they would say as they're annoyed by its shoddiness is just something that like is just a perfect moment for me when I'm watching it.
Yeah, it's like it's creating charm out of its shoddiness.
Yeah,
and who cares? Like
maybe that's an adult view of it, but when you're a kid, you're just in the reality of the movie.
Well, I think rather than looking at it as charm, as a kid, you are just charmed by it.
yeah, exactly.
And you just absorb it. You're like, oh, yeah, I like that.
Charmed then and still to this day by all the actors. It's got that classic, I don't know, Joe Dante especially too. Just good at casting people who feel like you're watching a movie kind of actors.
Yeah.
They're just perfectly cast.
Definitely.
I could go on about Gremlins, and we did go on about Gremlins for 2 hours in our episode on it.
I'll never forget the reason why the girl doesn't like Christmas.
Oh yeah, then they spoof in Gremlins 2.
It's just so great, man. It's so dark. You gotta love Joe Dante.
He was basically the first filmmaker I realized was a filmmaker where made me realize, there are directors. When I sort of put together, I think it was Gremlins and The Explorers and The Burbs. Those 3 movies and Inner Space. I loved
Inner Space.
Yeah, I loved all those as a kid. And when I realized, oh wait, those are the same filmmaker. Gremlins 2 at that time too.
Yeah. I just recently discovered that Joe Dante wrote a lot of reviews when he was sort of coming up. And some of them are really fascinating.
I mean, a lot he's written, he has trailers from hell where they give these sort of brief little explainer narrations over classic 50s B-movie kind of sci-fi things. So it's kind of like a lot of that style.
I'd like to revisit Piranha.
Yeah.
Which is an early Joe Dante.
Yeah.
Early-ish, I guess.
The Roger Corman gang. The school of Roger Corman he comes from.
Damn, where's our Roger Corman to usher us toward?
Still Roger Corman.
Oh, let's go call him.
Still around at 97 or whatever.
God damn.
I don't know how old he actually is. Great.
Cool, man.
We
did it. We did another 100.
Yeah. I know it's fun. It's
or another 99.
It's fun going back and looking at these, all picking some best ones. Some other ones that
you want to do some honorable
mentions. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, I feel like is a quintessential universal horror film.
Yeah.
When we actually get to the verses, it's just everything you hoped it could be and more.
Yeah.
Vampire's Kiss, I loved. You did not love that as much.
I did not.
I loved We're All Going to the World's Fair, talking about modern films that really got to me on some deep level, which Skinamarink did as well.
Yeah.
I had Candyman. I was just laughing seeing I wrote The Blob.
The Blob is fun.
Yeah. You thought I might have had Kuroneko on there. That one is great. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, I think we covered a lot of really fun movies that I think there's, I'd have to look at the list, but there are a ton of rents between the two of us rather than streams, buys, or avoids. Very few avoids. I think there's only 3 maybe between the two of us for the whole 99 movies.
Yeah, for our episode 100, we did our bottom 9 or whatever. We just wanted to keep it positive for this one.
You could go listen to the episodes and you'll know pretty quickly. But for me, I think the biggest honorable mention and one that two that I was initially compelled to put in my top 9, but then was I'm gonna reserve my final, decision till Maxine comes out.
Yeah.
So, but X and Pearl, very, very close to being in the list.
Yeah.
But again, in the same way that I listed the Halloween and the Scream movies, I think that, I'm guessing, but I think that once Maxine comes out and we get to see the whole arc of everything and the vision of the trilogy, that it will impact. I guess I'm trying to say that I wonder if individually none of them would necessarily make the list. We'll find out. but collectively they absolutely would.
Like they all elevate each other.
Yeah. And so, what does that even mean, really? And that I think it mostly just means that it's longer form storytelling.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It seems like
Which I love.
Your brain's kind of defaulting there as a sort of modern man, where you're looking at series as just kind of it's all almost the same thing. It's all just stories being told,
right? And the
length aside.
I love world building. I think that's a big part of it. So the longer you can kind of live in a world, or the more you can kind of tie worlds together, it's really fun and cool. And why not? We have the allowance to make big things. Let's just make them even bigger and better. Whatever.
Yeah, cool.
So, what else should we talk about?
I feel like that's pretty. I'm satisfied. I was trying to think of
I'm satisfied too.
Any indelible moments. One more, actually. Here's an indelible movie, and I was looking for indelible moments, indelible movie made the short list. Santa Sangre.
I thought about that. It's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think I'd kind of like to see it again.
Yeah,
like with fresh sort of eyes going in.
Did that make the smoke a joint and watch it list for you?
I mean, if you want to spiral.
Yeah, well, you did already watching it.
That's true.
I did. One does.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Man, I'd really have to. Give me a week and I'll come up with the joint list.
Yeah, I think I've seen, including that, 3 of Alejandro Jodorowsky's films, and that one, it's my favorite one.
Oh, cool!
Out of what I've seen, I mean, the elephant graveyard scene. I mean, no, God. Anyway, it's all a dreamy, weird, colorful blur in my mind.
Yeah.
Definitely a horror too.
Oh yeah,
story. So anyway, special shout out to that one. No, I'm satisfied. But it's fun with you two. We could actually, if anyone watches and cares to share any of their favorites from what we've talked about, love to hear that. Look at what our list of our last 100 were.
Definitely.
Cool.
Do it.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Do you want to do a recommendation, or do you feel like we've covered enough?
I like this being a special.
Great.
This was it.
I'm into it.
Great.
I never have one on deck anyway, so.
So yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. In closing, as always, thanks for listening.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.